Okay, we're going live. The Hangout on Air is live. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning.
And happy Friday.
Happy
Friday, Seth.
This is a lazy Friday hangout today. I can honestly say for the first time, I think I've said this at least in public in a long time, that I am utterly and completely exhausted. I have been not getting up at 4 in the morning like I'm accustomed to. I've been sleeping till the last possible minute and then getting up and almost like the normal rat race working people, 9 to 5ers, just last minute get in the shower, dash, go do what you got to do.
Sit in traffic.
Can you try to take the weekend off? Or do you
No,
ever do
in
that?
fact, for some reason lately, and don't get me wrong, I hope this doesn't come across as complaining because I am not complaining, but I've been getting a lot of referral business, like local people here in Los Angeles referring me clients to work on. So, it's interesting. This is actually a good topic for today. Ooh, something just flew by in the background. A squirrel.
Yeah.
A flying
squirrel. It's Rocky.
Yeah.
Is my audio okay without me plugging my headset in?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. I'm not going to plug my headset in. Here comes the hand.
Hello. That is
You all know
awesome.
my wife's hand. See, now Doug Sleater jokes with me, and he says he doesn't believe that my wife exists because he's never met her. And, now I have the proof that at least her hand exists.
Yeah.
So, this year has definitely been an interesting year for me on the consulting side of things, as you probably have figured out by now, and I'm sure I've been vocal about it too. I've really been wanting to kind of get away from the consulting world and get more into the training stuff that I love to do, because it's my true love. And schoolofbookkeeping.com is definitely representative of that, for the obvious, in the obvious ways. And, when it came to the consulting, I'd had a couple of clients this year whom I just felt were just, how do I put it? There's really no nice way to put it. They were just toxic people that I didn't enjoy dealing with at all.
Yeah.
One of them, I came to refer to the text messages that he would send me as Tourette's messages. And I would get them frequently, usually within a day or two of having been to his office. The minute he thought something went wrong, I would get a slew of them. And the ironic thing was, the last time around, I was sitting in a meeting with a new client that I was sort of onboarding, who came by way of referral, and who is it was funny because when I did the Google Maps, I saw from Google Maps that they were 7 minutes away from me. They're right here in Burbank. And, really nice people, really good company. I can get behind what they actually do. There's clients you get where sometimes you you love what they do, sometimes it doesn't really matter, and sometimes you're downright against what they do. I mean, at one time I had a client come in the door who, quite frankly, was in the adult entertainment industry, internet porn, basically. And they came by way of a referral from a CPA here whom I had not received a referral from ever before, and I was really kind of against it. As it was hard enough to find a bookkeeper who was willing to work on a company like that, and I wasn't going to fault anyone, and of course I told them right up front, look, here's what they do. If you don't want to take it on, I understand completely. And I took it on. Of course, it was a mistake. The guy was not pleasant to deal with, and I let him go eventually. So you get these clients that, sometimes you can really stand behind what they do. So this client I'm sitting in the meeting with, who's 7 minutes away from me, I'm sitting in the meeting with them, and, I take my notes on Evernote with my smartphone. So it's sitting on the conference room table, because I'm picking it up occasionally to make notes, and all of a sudden it starts lighting up with this other client's Tourette's messages. And effing this and F that and on and on. And, with a text message, it lights up on the face of your phone and it shows up. It's not like an email where just a notification drops in. So, to say the least, I was mildly embarrassed. I picked up the phone immediately and made it look like I was taking notes, of course. And from there, proceeded to, and here's the irony of it. Here I was getting in a new client who's 7 minutes away and a pleasure to deal with while this guy's sending me these messages. So I realized this new client is closer, probably had more work for me, and the one who is sending me the Tourette's messages is in Manhattan Beach, California. It's an hour-and-a-half drive every time I go there each way. So I just decided I was done.
Mm-mm.
You know, and I was going there every other week to spend an entire day, so I was getting a full day's worth of hours, which wasn't terrible. But who wants to sit in their car for 3 hours? Especially when I can work with somebody, get the same rate of pay who's 7 minutes away, and even though they're only 7 minutes away, they still want me to work remotely because they travel a lot. So it was like in every possible way, it was a no-brainer that this client would be a perfect replacement for the other one. So not only didn't I lose income, I probably actually increased my income on a couple levels. One, because they'll have more work for me at the same rate, and two, because I won't have to waste 3 hours driving, you know, when I do go see, you know, the way I was when I did go see the other guy. So this year for me has been a year of really getting rid of the toxic people, and there's always a certain amount of fear around that. Right? There's always a certain amount of, oh my God, how am I going to be able to pay the bills? I depend so much on this income from these clients. And I've said this for years, and I didn't even listen to it myself for the longest time this year. But, you know, you always end up getting better situations when you let go of people like that and energy like that.
Weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
How that happens?
It's almost like,
Absolutely.
call it what you want, God, the universe, whatever it is. It's almost like it's testing you and saying, hey, look, do you have faith in me? Because if you do, let go of the people who you don't need in your life, the people who are toxic, get them out, make room, and I will provide you with something so much better. And every single time it has worked that way. It is, in my opinion now.
You know what, Seth? This comes with experience. You can do that when you have experience. When you're first starting out, what do you tell people? I have someone that I'm mentoring that is just now starting out in the business. How do you tell them to turn away clients like that?
The way I tell them is I say the client that if you take them on, what's going to happen is they're going to suck up your time, they're going to make you miserable, and while you're busy being miserable and providing them what they need for less than what you probably deserve to get paid, you're going to miss out on the opportunity to get the next one coming in the door.
They'll pass you by. The good ones will pass, because the energy, I don't know what it is, but when you're wasting your time with the wrong clients, the good clients are. Now that's really hard to do when you need to pay bills.
That's my point. Yeah, especially when you're first starting out. I mean, you and I and Sarah and Dennis have been doing this for a really long time. We know almost the first sentence that comes out of the person's mouth when you meet them. Are they going to be a good fit for you? Right. When you're brand new in the business, you don't have that sense. You just know, oh, somebody wants my services, and I want to do everything I can to help them.
Well, when you first start out, a good client is one who is both willing and able to pay your bill.
Absolutely.
Not either or, but both. But I kind of liken it to, you know, coming up through the minor leagues where you'll take on, I call them like minor league clients to get experience, and then as you progress, you'll, you know, advance to a higher level. But I tell people that you have three scarce resources: your time, your money, and your energy. And a lot of people don't realize the value of their time and their energy. And you can be wasting a lot of that on these PETA type clients that, you know, by getting rid of them, you're automatically freeing up your time and your energy, which can be more productively spent.
That's what I mean, and I know it's hard to do when you're new, because I know how, you know, and so here's the other thing I say to the person who's just getting started out is, and this is kind of how it worked out for me. I didn't necessarily consciously plan it this way, but it worked out that when I'd made the decision that I needed to go out on my own, I had made the decision that I was unemployable, because even though I was employed and working, I couldn't stand it. I couldn't stand working for someone else. I couldn't stand the condescension, the demeaning way in which I'd get berated every time I made a mistake about something, rather than being taught how to do it better. This is where I have you know, it's funny, when I did the recent interview with Doug Sleater, when he did the Webio, Doug made a comment about the fact that there's a stigma on the part of corporate America about people working from home, you know, about home-based businesses. And I didn't say it then because I wasn't really thinking about it, but if I had it to do again, I would make this statement, that there's a stigma on the part of people like me about corporate America and the way they breed management that doesn't teach. They manage, they're condescending, they berate people, they're demeaning, they're immature, they're given too much power before they're ready to handle it. And I would love to see the day when corporate America just comes crumbling down, because there's so many small businesses who can function with much more agility and take them down because they can't compete, because these big corporations just can't move fast enough. And I do believe that day is coming. So what I'd say to the person just starting out, though, is, what I did when I realized I needed to go out on my own. I couldn't stand, working for these big corporations. The way people were treated was just disgusting to me. So what I did was I found my first client that needed somebody like 3 days a week. And that way I was able to say, okay, if I know I've got this job and this income coming in based on 3 days a week steady, I can afford to give notice at my firm. At this time I was working at a CPA firm. And I felt confident enough that I could fill up the other 2 days a week with my time, plus fill in on weekends where I could get extra work to make a little bit more money. And sure enough, I went and I got that kind of opportunity. It was a little marketing company. They needed a part-time business management person, and so that's what I did. I took that job. Basically, it was a part-time job. It wasn't really a client, and also 3 days a week was enough for me to qualify to get health benefits from them. So it worked out perfectly. I gave my notice at the CPA firm, and lo and behold, because I was specialized in an area at that CPA firm that they really didn't have anybody else to fill in, they were actually willing. Sorry?
Did they hire you back part-time?
They did. They kept me on the other 2 days a week. So now I was hybrid. I had like 2 part-time jobs, and then I started getting clients in, filling in on the weekends. So I'd go see clients on Saturdays to get extra work in. And then the time came when the managing partner at that CPA firm, for the last time as far as I was concerned that I was going to put up with it, he'd actually come up to me, and I guess he was upset with something I had done, and he pokes me in the back, physically touched me, and pokes me in the back to get my attention. And it took everything I had not to get up, turn around, wind up, and clock him in the face. And honestly, lucky for him, I was in recovery already, because if I hadn't been, I probably would have clocked him in the face after doing something like that. Like, you can berate me, you can be demeaning, you can do all that stuff, but you don't touch me.
Right.
Yeah.
And so that was like a Thursday. I was doing Tuesdays and Thursdays with them, and so that was a Thursday. I came in the following Tuesday, and I walked in the office, went straight to his office, and handed him my notice. And he looks at me, he says, "What's this?" And I said, "It's my 2 weeks' notice." And I said it just like that, like very sternly. It was my sort of passive way of saying "F you."
Yeah.
And his response was something like, "Well, good, because I don't think it would have worked out for you here long term." And I'm like, "Well, at least we agree on that then." So I guess my message to somebody who's just getting started out and really needs the money is try and look for an opportunity like that. Try and look for a client that you can work on like 3 days a week, because then it's easier to fill in the other time, and that way you leverage yourself. It's funny. I think of a funny analogy. Like I think of sort of Tarzan grabbing onto a vine. So you grab onto that vine that 3 days a week. That's what's going to hold you for a while you build up the clients in the other time. And then eventually, when you have enough, where you have the confidence, frankly, because that's what it really boils down to. It's not as much having the actual business, it's having the confidence that you can get it. That confidence in and of itself is what will get you, the extra business that you need. And that's what comes with experience, is you develop a lot of confidence that, okay, I know what I'm doing, I don't have to question, it's not a question about whether or not I can do the job anymore, or even convincing somebody else that I can. I've got that experience behind me now, I've got that momentum, so now it's just a matter of getting the leads, right? Getting the people to call me so I can, present to them what I can do for them. And so that would be my message to somebody who's sort of new at this, is get a bigger client to kind of hold you over while you build up on the rest of the time. Then when you have enough, go to the bigger client, the one that you've got, let's say the 3 days a week, and give them your notice, or work something out with them where you'll transition it and obviously do the right thing by them. But this way, you can leave there on good terms, you can leave them in good hands, making sure that they have somebody else to take over what you were doing, make sure you train them. You put yourself in a position to be able to do all that.
It strikes me as that the corporate world is a lot like the National Football League, in the sense that they're always looking for younger, cheaper, and that the corporate world is not a very hospitable place for someone in their 40s and beyond, because a lot of times you get into a corporate position, you get specialized, and you're getting 1 year experience, 5 years in a row, and basically they can go out and get somebody that's better trained for cheaper, and they'll always find a way to de-hire you, so to speak. I mean, they won't unless their HR department's totally incompetent. They'll be able to avoid, age discrimination suits. But I just don't think that the corporate world is a good place for anybody over 40.
I don't think the corporate world is a good place for anybody, period.
Yeah,
yeah. But
By
when
the time you
not,
get in your 40s, you should know what you're doing.
yeah, but I mean, you're not as compliant as someone in their early 20s is just trying to
That
get.
doesn't know any better. Yes, that's true.
Not everybody's suited for entrepreneurship, though. Have you all read?
that's true.
That's a fact.
That's what's scary because
Because you have to not only be able to do the work, you have to find the work, you have to run your own company. I mean,
You have to be disciplined.
yeah, you have to be good at
Discipline,
doing the
but-
job, and you have to be good at marketing. You can't. It's not an either-or situation.
Well, and
Yeah.
I think what all of that stuff follows after, though, is what should come naturally if you're going to be an entrepreneur, which is that if you're passionate, if you're doing something that you really love, and that's the real reason why you do it, then you won't have a problem being disciplined. Then you'll be like me, where you want to get up at 4 or 5 in the morning because you can't wait to get started, and you'll want to do it till 10 at night because you don't want to go away because you just love doing it that much.
but there's a difference between an entrepreneur and somebody who's really good at their craft.
Mm-hmm.
Because
Absolutely.
some people, how many businesses do we go in to help where somebody's passionate, they know their craft, they started a business, but they can't run the business.
Right.
They don't understand
And they have
finances.
no desire
They don't understand
to.
marketing. They don't understand how to hire. They're making mistakes. So we end up more business consultants, not just software consultants, not just accounting, but we find them making all kinds of mistakes. I mean, so in any type of small business, you have to, if somebody's passionate about their craft, they have to be able to know when they can't handle one part of that business and be able to hire us to take care of the accounting.
And that's hard too. They just think that, oh, well, I can take care of the bookkeeping. I don't have to pay somebody, and I'll save that dollar.
Yeah, but
Right.
I mean, QuickBooks and other software companies are sort of guilty of, giving the impression that a moron can be doing the books without,
Right.
and so I think Intuit's kind of speaks out of two sides of their mouth. One, it's like they're in silos. Like the ProAdvisor department wants to make you think we're all personal assistants to Mother Teresa, versus the marketing department think any idiot can just be picking it up and doing it and without any consequences. And so I think that it tends to devalue a ProAdvisor services in the sense that people say, well, geez, why am I paying $180 for software and I got to pay $150 an hour for consultants,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's the lesson. The thing that I say the most is they say QuickBooks is easy. I said it is easy. So is a pencil. I can sit you down in front of a drafting table and show you how to use a pencil. It's easy, but does that make you an architect?
Well, it just automates your mistakes. I mean, it makes you more efficient at making mistakes.
Well, it's a tool. I try to stress that software is a tool like a pencil, but if you don't know what you need to do with that pencil, then that tool is not as valuable as you think it is. So, yeah.
Right. Larry writes in the chat, hard to know when to hold them and when to fold them. So.
No, I know. Your gut tells you. It's when you get the gut and the head together.
And I think maybe it's because I'm getting older and grumpier with my old age, because I'm more and more of the opinion that as soon as I don't feel comfortable, as soon as I no longer enjoy working with someone, as soon as they show me that they have even the capacity to treat me poorly, I don't care how bad the mistake is I may have made. We all make mistakes. There's no question. And I will always own up to them and correct them promptly when I've made them. Yeah. So and because of that, I don't ever want to be treated with disrespect, even if they think the mistake I've made is stupid. I don't ever want to be treated with disrespect. So pretty much at the first sign of being treated with disrespect, to me, that's when to fold them. That's when I'm done.
One of the advantages of being self-employed is that you can fire clients, whereas if you're an employee, you get stuck in these toxic environments that you really don't have much choice unless you really want to
Well, you know what I did when I was employed? One of the things I did, and this helped me very much on a psychological level, is that I was always interviewing for jobs. I always had my resume out there. I was always interviewing. First of all, by doing that, nobody could complain or question why I had my resume out there, because it was a simple answer. I've always got my resume out there. I'm never taking it down. Don't expect any different. That's what I would tell my employers. You know, and basically my message to them was, if you don't want me taking another job, then just make sure I'm happy working here. You know, that's kind of, you know, that's the thing. And corporate America, I think, has a very skewed view of things, because they think like that as employees you should feel lucky to have the job. What if it was the corporation's good fortune to have me as their employee? What if we looked at it that way? Yeah. And that's how I learned to start looking at it, is, you know what, I'm a good employee. I work hard. I do, you know, I do whatever it takes to get the job done and do it well. And I started actually changing my perspective. I stopped thinking of myself as an employee and started thinking more of myself as somebody who is providing a service to this corporation under contract as an employee. And that little shift in thinking made a big difference for me in terms of my confidence. And so I always had my resume out there, and I would take job interviews. And you know what, Dennis? That way, when I did get treated poorly, I didn't feel stuck. I felt like, you know what, there's always a choice. I can always move on. The
reality is that when you're an employee, unless you've got a contract, a written contract, you are on a rolling one-day contract with that employer, and you can be dehired for any non-discriminatory reason. And I used to see people getting thrown out that very day. When my boss got drop kicked out of the company, I mean, she was on the street by about 1 o'clock with her little box full of stuff, and she was, you know, so when I was prepared for it, I was basically taking stuff home, and because I was expecting to get thrown out of there. But the funny thing was, they just eliminated my job, but they let me stay around for about 3 days, and I tried to, you know, give my work to other people, and everybody's too busy. So finally I thought, well, you know, I'm not taking this crap with me, so I just, you know, gave up on it and just kind of, you know, called people and just chit-chatted and went to lunch and didn't do anything. But it's amazing, they just eliminated jobs, and after I left, I was still getting emails from people asking where my work was, and I said to my former boss, did anybody bother to tell them I'm no longer with the company, you know? So it's like...
Right.
I recently changed the quote on the homepage of my website, and the quote now says, train people well enough so that they can leave, treat them well enough so they don't want to.
Yeah.
I saw that. Very good. I like it.
Mm-hmm. And that's the key to me. And that's where management really grossly fails, in my opinion, is that they think of themselves as managers, and it becomes something that comes from a place of pure ego. So I'm going to talk to my subordinates. First of all, I'm going to think of them as subordinates and not as people who are part of a team.
Right.
I'm going to talk down to them. I'm going to treat them like crap, and I'm going to make myself feel good in the short term because look how powerful I am that I can talk to these people this way. It's a sign of a complete lack of maturity. It's a sign of just a really weak and insecure person who would treat another human being that way. So my philosophy is, if I ever decided I wanted to build a big corporation, at the first sign that anybody in management treated an employee that way, they'd be out. I'd fire them on the spot with no questions asked. And then I would make sure that my management understood. I wouldn't even call them management. I would call them teachers, because that to me is what a good manager does. A good manager will teach the people who are working on their team how to do the job well. So if somebody makes a mistake, I'm not going to call them into my office and berate them and say, what's wrong with you? You're an idiot. How could you screw this up so badly? Which is kind of how most management in corporate America, in my experience, approaches these things.
Until you make the mistake on the 4th time.
Right, the 4th time, well, then we just hit them with a baseball bat. I get a big Dodgers bat, you know, behind me. Or a hockey stick. The Kings are doing well, so maybe it'll be a hockey stick that I'll hit them with. No, but the point is, first of all, as a manager, the way I have to look at it, if the person on my team keeps making mistakes, it's my fault. It's my fault. I didn't train them right.
See, that's what I've had. It took me too long to learn. As a business owner, I would hire somebody trying to teach, and you know pretty quickly whether they're in the right position or not.
Right.
Yeah. And if you keep them in that position and keep trying and trying, and you're getting miserable and they're getting miserable, it's your fault for not nipping it in the bud sooner. Because you know, with training, you know whether somebody's in the right job. And I finally got the hang of that. And I had a woman who graduated from college with a 4.0, accounting, just all kinds of awards. Within a week, that woman's in the wrong business. Accounting, you know, she was book learned, but she couldn't think outside the
books.
You show her ABC, but she couldn't do D by herself.
Yeah, just call it.
I just sat down one morning, and she's just not grasping, and I'm like, and she's like, well, you told me to do it this way, and I'm like, but that client was a corporation. This is a sole proprietorship. You need to know all the different, you know, in accounting, it isn't this is the only way to do it. You have to know the whole picture.
Right.
And so I knew right off the bat that she'd be better off, first of all, in marketing. She's more of a people person and not detail-oriented. Huge things are getting past her, and I'm like, you didn't see that go by? And she would either be better off in one company, learning one job, and not in public accounting. And I just turned to her and I said, you know what? This has been a great experience learning about each other, but I think you're in the wrong. And she was actually relieved. Now, my normal MO was to keep trying and trying because I didn't want to fail. I didn't want her to fail. And then you feel sorry for them, and they've got a job. And no, nip it.
No, and you're doing them a better service by actually telling them, hey, this isn't going to work. But the bottom line is, as a manager, I have to take full responsibility for everything that happens, for everything that goes wrong, and for everything that goes right. You know, actually, I take that back. When it goes wrong, it's my fault. When it goes right, I attribute it to the whole team. So, because first of all, by taking that approach towards these things, I am empowering myself to do something about it when something does go wrong. If I say, well, it's not my fault, then I'm powerless. I can't do anything about it, and I'm basically putting myself in a train wreck that I have no control over. So as soon as I say, you know what, it's my responsibility, it's my fault. If somebody who's working in my employ isn't doing their job well, the first step is let me see if I can try and teach them how to do it better. Berating them and making them feel like crap is not going to help. They're not going to function better. In fact, it's going to make it harder for them to function well because they're going to be so nervous about the way I'm going to attack them if they make another mistake that they're not going to be able to concentrate on doing a good job because they're going to be so worried and nervous. So not only am I not helping the situation when I do that, but I'm making it worse. I'm making it that much harder for them to do a good job. If, on the other hand, I approach them and say, hey, let me show you how to do this right. Let me teach you a skill that's going to help you do better whether you stay here or move on at some point. Like you said, Sarah, that's a great quote. You know, because if I can teach them that, they'll be so grateful for my having taught them how to do a better job, for my having taught them a skill they didn't have before that I don't imagine they'd ever want to leave. They would want to continue working for me and do whatever it took to help me achieve my goals for us as a team because I've treated them well, I've made them feel good about what they were doing, and ultimately I've taught them how to do better rather than berate them for not doing well. I mean,
it seems to me that with social media it's very dangerous for people to be going off on rants and that kind of stuff because how do you know that you're not being recorded or being videotaped and you're going to end up on a viral YouTube video which could have personal undesirable consequences, especially if the company's name is mentioned, you bring negative publicity on the company, you may be kind of short-circuiting your career opportunities. So I think it's very dangerous to be just assuming that this is private because employees have no loyalty to companies anymore, so they don't care, and especially younger employees are probably more inclined to just, you know, let you go viral on the internet and see what happens.
Yeah, I mean, I suppose the same kind of insecure people that would treat people that way would also be the kind of people that would establish rules that you can't have your cell phone in the office and you can't videotape anything. And if you do, you're fired immediately.
Sometimes I wonder if social media at some point is going to start to really affect behavior, where people will go, where's the camera?
Yeah, right.
You know, I wonder if it'll be a good thing in the long run. I don't know, but people...
I think it's already starting.
Well, look, it's already happening, Sarah. It's already happening. They can turn the camera on your computer at any time and see and hear what's happening in your office. They say that what they're looking for is what TV shows watching and they're not going to abuse it.
No, that'll never happen.
Right now with Google Glass, it's pretty obvious if you're wearing it, but in the future when when these wearables get smaller and smaller, I mean, how do you know that somebody's wristband isn't taking a video or recording you, you know?
And with Google Street, be aware that you are being photographed at all times.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm the young people today, young people that I know, play a game on Google Maps. They try and find a corner in Philadelphia and see if they can get a drug deal going down. See how many. Yeah. Hey, young kids are doing that.
This is live. This is live. The Google. What do you call it? The Google. What?
Universe?
Is that the one with the satellite that changes? It updates pretty frequently. Is that Google Maps?
No, Google Street is where they go around and they take photos constantly of the streets to update for Google Maps purposes and other purposes, so that you can.
Street view, that can be pretty old. But what is the one that?
If you're in a real populated area, be prepared for it. If you're more in the urban area, out in the country, not so much.
Yeah.
But and it's really like that for me. I go into the town of Westchester, and I have seen Google Maps, and I have seen the cars and people I know. Yes.
Yeah, no, when I punched up my address on Google Maps, and you get the satellite view, I've seen the photos they've taken of my house with my car in the driveway.
Yeah.
So you know it's a recent picture.
Exactly. Not so much out here in Amish country where I live. But when I go to the closer to Philadelphia, we'll see this.
Well, get this, the IRS, I mean, they're all over the internet. If they're going to do an audit and they're going to try to figure out your standard of living and things like that, and you've got pictures of the inside of your house, and the county can't, without a warrant really, or the IRS can't get in your house, but if you're blasting it out in the internet, in your boat, your car, your jet skis.
Where younger kids, they're putting pictures of themselves up on Instagram, doing things they're not going to be proud of later on, and by the time they go for a job interview, that stuff's out there, and there's no way to get it down.
Absolutely.
You can pull your pictures off of Instagram, but it's still there in the history, and other people have still probably downloaded them or reshared them, and so you can never get, once it's out there, period.
Yeah, I'm sure the HR department's probably scouring the internet for whenever they interview somebody. They're probably doing searches and that kind of stuff.
And I don't know if this is still going on, but I was abhorred when I heard that there were companies that were actually asking you to give them your Facebook logins so they could check you out.
Yeah, that was incredible. No way.
I would be like, you know what? I'll give you my Facebook logins if you give me yours, because I want to evaluate you as a company. And while we're at it, I want the logins of all of your employees because I want to see who I'm going to be working with.
That's right.
That would be my response to that.
No, my response would just be simply bye-bye.
Thanks for
bye-bye.
This interview is over.
Yeah, but I guess I have a different perspective on that these days. And young people don't seem to have that. They have grown up with that. I know little 6-year-olds that have been photographed so much by their parents and put on Facebook and put on Instagram since the day they were born. They think that that's what life is all about.
Well, if the photographs are appropriate, that's fine. But, when you get these, 13, 14-year-old girls putting videos of themselves on Instagram twerking because that's what they saw Miley Cyrus do, that's the stuff that when they go to apply for jobs is going to come back to haunt them. Of course, at the same time, as an employer, I'd probably look at that and go, okay, well, she was 14. I'm pretty sure that has nothing to do with her ability to perform this job today. Now, if I still saw it going on, in recent times, if this is what they're doing, then I might question whether that's somebody I'd want in my employ.
And I'd be curious why the parents aren't saying something to their 13 or 14-year-old saying you should not be posting those kinds of things.
They are, but the kids don't listen.
A couple years forward, college days. How many college people that young college, are out doing things that they shouldn't be at nighttime, taking pictures of everybody?
Yeah. And Tina, to address your question, they do, but the kids don't listen. They're going to do it anyway.
Well, then they need to take their stuff away.
Well, yeah.
And if you're a college student, then you're an adult and a moron, so fine, go for it. You can do that. I lived through my 20s. I didn't go to college. I did all kinds of moronic stuff, and I survived gratefully.
But that was before social media.
That's true.
Before you had the opportunity to put it out there for everyone to see.
Yeah.
Then, not necessarily just you. It could be your friends. Your friends are doing this, and you don't even know it until you wake up. Again,
you're going to have employers out there who are going to see that you're doing this kind of stuff, and then that's going to make them want to hire you for all the wrong reasons.
I guess there's that, too.
That's so true.
Oh, you're hired. You know what? That stuff you were doing on Instagram, you need to do that in the office.
Put you in charge of the parties.
New marketing techniques.
Yeah. But they will do it anyway, and kids will sneak around. So, yeah, the best thing you can do is take away their phone. Of course, they're going to hate you, but that's okay. Let them hate you. I had a good friend of mine.
With that.
A good friend of mine, his daughter was acting up, and he said, "Give me your cell phone. I'm taking it away." She refused to give it to him. I mean, this is how belligerent kids are getting. They know, because it's not like when we grew up where if I misbehaved, I got a spanking. You know, you can't do that now. So, you know, the kids know that. So my friend's daughter was basically refusing to give up her phone. So luckily he was smart enough, like I can do this too, is he was able to remotely shut off her phone. He was able to log into it.
Good for him.
They have to have ramifications.
Absolutely.
Consequences of what they do, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yep, so until you're old enough to support yourself and pay for your own phone, then you're going to be at the mercy of, you know, having to do what I say, basically.
That's right. Keep you happy.
My teenage daughter, her room is such a mess, she left her bank card on the floor, and she hasn't noticed it's missing yet. I'm kind of throwing caution to the wind, hoping I don't lose it in my office. So it'll be interesting to see when she finds out it's missing, and see if I remember where I put it.
Well, Dennis, she may know it's missing.
What is it with?
Be too afraid.
She never watches this programs.
But what is it with kids, and I'm talking about 17, 18 even, having no concept of the ripple effect and the effect of their actions? And I won't get into it, but I have a friend whose daughter was missing. And so we're talking, it's all over social media. We've got cops. We've got freaking out. I mean, businesses disrupted, family members disrupted. And when they find her, she's like, I didn't ask you to look for me.
Yeah.
And now she's livid because everybody knows. Everybody knows. And I'm like, what did you expect? And so now it's all about everybody, you know, there's something wrong with all of us.
Yeah.
Well, because I know when I was 17 and 18 years old, I knew what I was doing better than anyone, and there's nobody that was going to tell me, and I didn't really care what you thought. I mean, I really didn't care. Yep, and that's exactly where you're at at 17 or 18 years old.
You won't throw me out.
And you could, or you could tell me, hey, Seth, you're going to ruin your future. You're going to want to get a job someday, and you're doing all this crazy stuff. And my response would be, I'm not worried about that now. I'll worry about that in 10 years from now when it really becomes a reason for me to be concerned. You know, right now I'm 17, 18 years old, and I'm having fun, and nobody's going to stop me.
Yep.
But, you know, the mother's in tears, and the daughter's going, you're going to throw me. I'll throw you out. And she's not going to throw me out.
It's too bad we can't have the wisdom we have now that when we were young.
I know.
I used to love the phrase that would be, a lot of my parents' friends had this little, it was almost like a bumper sticker on their refrigerators that said, hey, kids, quick, get out now while you still know everything.
Right.
Well, I actually did do that because I moved out at 16 and was renting a room and got a full-time job and was finishing high school, and I did it all the way I wanted to do it because the way it was working at home was not working for me.
Dina, I did too.
I knew I liked you.
Same for me.
All right then.
Rented a room. I was out. I remember, and my parents actually ended up moving. But I remember the school, there was something my mom had to sign or something, and I was a senior in high school, and I'm like, they live in South Carolina. And so I had forged my mom's signature for so much that my mom couldn't sign anything because it didn't look like, So all my teachers knew, but I got myself out of high school and into college, and, but I don't know. When I look at these kids now that are 16, 17, 18 compared to, wow, but then, I did really well, but in hindsight, I was young.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. So I was probably very lucky that I did as well as I did. But
it's like that video Seth put out there about, we all survived doing all this crazy stuff, and I think most would be horrified if their kids were doing the same stuff they were doing.
Sometimes I'm glad I have a dog.
I don't know. I think it goes back to, the discipline of what we were raised with versus what kids are sort of experiencing now, and the lack thereof. So you're getting all these issues and attitude, and your hands are tied because there's so little you can do unless you do something and don't leave a mark.
Well, yeah. Now, Dennis, now I know the video you're talking about, and Tina, you just reminded me of it because this age of political correctness has actually made us weak.
Yep.
Because, like that video says, I have to find it. It's such a good video because it talked about how, when I was a kid, not everybody got picked for the team. It wasn't all about, well, let's make sure everybody feels good and nobody's feelings are hurt. And I guess now, I didn't know this, but after seeing that video, it made me realize, I guess now, probably people have come forward and complained. My son came home crying because he didn't make the team, so now everybody's got to make the team. And the reality is it does make us weak because it doesn't teach us the consequences that real life will eventually force on us, which is that, sometimes you don't win, sometimes you don't get the job, sometimes you have an experience that teaches you that you've got to work harder to get what you want. I mean, that's the kind of stuff we talk about here in the context of business.
Yep. They're destroyed when a relationship doesn't work or they didn't get that job or whatever, and they're just destroyed. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, they don't get it because all their life now growing up, they're being given a message that says, oh, you don't have to worry, you're always going to make it. You're never going to be turned away. And that's not reality. So we're really sheltering kids in a way that doesn't adequately prepare them for the real world. And it's bad. I mean, yeah, you'd go out there and as a kid, I'd go out, I'd ride my bike, I'd fall down, I'd hurt my leg, and nobody would get sued. I would go get a Band-Aid, or if I had to, I'd go to the hospital and get a cast put on, whatever it took, but that was life. Now if you do it, you're going to see, all right, well, who owns the property where I fell and hurt my leg? Let's sue them.
We're going to make money.
Yeah. And it's in a way, I'm so glad I'm not growing up, in this day and age. I'm so glad I grew up when I grew up because I really appreciate the experience I got to have that now I think it looks to me, and I don't know because I don't have kids, so I'm not really going through it, but from what I'm starting to pick up on, what I'm learning is that, the kids now are living a very sheltered life, and they're being robbed of a real life experience, I think.
Well, go back to our conversation on entrepreneurs and going in your business. Look at the clients that we're seeing now, the young ones that come out. They work a year, or two. They can do better than their boss, and they start their own business. But they want the best equipment, the fancy furniture in the office. They spend all this money on all the stuff that isn't going to, and you think about how when we started, I was using secondhand furniture. The whole attitude's wrong, and that all this fluff isn't what makes the business, and then they fail, and then they don't know why they failed. So
they use their credit cards.
The young ones that are coming up right now and starting these businesses, and they're doing it completely. It's the same thing with the ones that are getting married and instantly want a $500,000 house and all the furniture. So they don't have this work and earn, and the patience to learn and grow because they want it now.
Well, and I know when I was in my 20s, it would be embarrassing if I still lived at home with my parents. Now, kids stay at home with their parents till they're well into their 30s, and it's like normal.
Yeah, that ain't happening here.
Yeah, Sammy's gonna be like, you're gonna be like, Sammy, get out.
Sammy now.
You know, I got to tell you, I don't let her win. She has to work for stuff, and
Good.
you know, she's got chores that she's got to do. She helps with laundry. She makes her bed. She helps dust. She helps vacuum. She unloads the dishwasher. She does everything that I had to do when I was growing up, and I think it's going to make her a stronger individual.
Well, good for you for having the courage to walk your conviction in a day and age where it's not the right thing to do.
You know,
Yeah, I mean, we've played games with little girlfriends of hers, and you know, they won't win. And you want to talk about full-on tantrum. And you know, the parents will pull me aside and say, "Oh, well, we always let so and so win." I'm like, "Well, you can't. That's not what life is all about."
Right.
you know, to me, one characteristics of being mature is being able to think long term. And I've tried to emphasize this with my daughter is that, okay, you're taking this action short term, but what's the long term consequences? I mean, she got really sick because she wanted to do something, you know, when she shouldn't have. She was getting a cold, but she got really sick because she insisted on doing it because it was really important. But reality-wise, it's, you know, 5 years from now, even a year from now, how important is that going to be in terms of, you know, and it's hard for younger people to think long-term consequences. Is this, you know, it seems really important right now, but, you know, I learned that in the corporate world that, you know, you get all these short-term emergencies, but long-term, who cares? It's not like they're going to shut down the company if you don't do this, you know.
Right. Right.
I think when I was, you know, sort of and I was a little bit more mature because of my home circumstances, but I think when I was going through my crazy 20s, which is where I really did some very stupid things, and I'm really lucky to be alive, but I was so excited to be a true adult. I could go out and do whatever I wanted to do. I was living in the now, and I wasn't thinking about, you know, the future.
Right.
And that, I think, is part of that, you know, trying to develop who you are as an adult, assert your, you know, independence, and you just don't think things through. It's just a part of, you know, growing up in life.
Well, the young people now are entitled, and they think they're going to live forever. They don't understand that there is long-term consequences, or like you said, Dennis, what's going to happen down the road. They're just in the moment right now, and all they know is here and now.
Yeah, you're not always going to be young. You know, it's like I know what it's like. I know what it's like to be young, but they don't know what it's like to be old. You know,
That's
and so
true.
Yeah, I wouldn't have done some of the stuff that I did if I had known, you know, 20 years from now that I would have blown out my knees and
right.
been in pain and have a 5-year-old to try and keep up with.
Yeah, exactly.
But you don't think that way when you're in your 20s. At least I didn't.
Yep.
I was invincible.
Yep. Yeah, you don't think you're going to get old, but it comes up pretty quick.
And you're never going to be like your parents.
No.
That's funny too.
See, I can honestly say I really don't have, even though I did some crazy stuff, I really don't have any regrets because ultimately I love the life I have today and everything I did before got me here. So.
Ew. I feel exactly the same way.
I am like you, Tina. I am very grateful that I made it through.
Yeah, I mean, like your present life's the result of past choices, you know.
Right.
Well, that's true.
I'm happy I survived it. Could have gone another way had circumstances or fates been unkind.
I mean, I was going to go in the Air Force, and had I done that, my life would be drastically different.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right, so let's see. We got any comments, questions from the peanut gallery out there? We got some people watching, so we got some shy people who didn't want to join us on the panel. If you do have questions, if you want to join us live here, let us know. I'll make sure I send you an invite right now and get you in. We got room.
Did you
which
see
is unusual?
Doug's video, the office, you know, to the moon, or the
I did.
You can't remember the video.
It was a funny video,
Yeah.
actually, they put out there. I did actually see it yesterday.
Yeah, I watched this. I watched it this morning. It's this. He has this conference. He has this great idea about going to the moon or something like that.
Well, it's funny because all of Eric's emails are always signed to the moon.
Oh.
So I wonder if Doug sort of picked up off of that, or if it was just coincidence. every email Eric sends out, and that's been an expression Eric has used since I've known him, years back. So
Was he a Jackie Gleason fan?
Honeymooners.
Honeymooners. Alice.
No, it's more of a shoot for the stars and you might reach for the moon kind of thing. But so yeah, I was wondering about that when I saw the video. I wonder if Doug got that from Eric. But,
I wonder if Karen Mangano ever got her computer working. That was an interesting.
Oh yeah, when is Scaling New Heights starting? Isn't that like this weekend? I'm not going.
Yeah, it's they're streaming Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday some of the keynote speeches. I was going to watch that. I guess it's in San Antonio this year.
I know Jessie Bryant's going to be there from T-Sheets, and she's going to be hanging out from the Scaling New Heights. Actually, while she's there, so she'll be hanging out with folks. So
I was watching Joe Woodard's that is QuickBooks More Than Accounts. So I was kind of surprised that QBO they got about 60 or 70 add-ins. I mean, it used to be around 30 or so. So it looks like they've added a lot more partners that are integrate with QBO. So Seth would probably know more about that, right? In terms of the additional add-ons with QBO. It looked like they had about 65 or so in their app center.
Wow, that's a lot.
I actually don't know.
They're really pushing Karen and the Transaction Pro importer. I'm seeing her a lot around the net today.
Well, that's why I was curious if she got her machine working, because she was having weirdness.
She got a Windows 8 machine. That's what the problem is. I wonder if it's the same as
Windows 8.1, right? That's going to solve all the problems.
same thing that happened with Misha, that QuickBooks did not recognize the memory, and you have to do a restore, Well, I've heard of that from a couple people. I had someone else call me and ask me for help, and that's what it turned out to be.
I was reading an interesting article by William Murphy on the intuitive accountant about not letting QuickBooks, not letting it power down or not letting it go into sleep mode, because it was like the title of the article was QuickBooks is not green, and you don't want to let the settings default to sleep mode or whatever, because it can corrupt the files or that was something I hadn't known, so I thought that was kind of interesting this morning. I was reading it.
That is interesting.
Yeah, I've had more corrupt data in the last year or two. I don't know.
I think anything can make it corrupt.
But you know what the big thing is this week? And I just saw an article when you mentioned Murphy. He wrote an article this morning about the ransomware.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, I saw your comment.
Yeah, I mean, we had a local CPA firm where one of the partners clicked on something, and by the time she called IT, she was like, "I'm trying to do an email and my signature looks weird." He said, "Stop." By the time they got to her machine, she was getting, because it encrypts. And it takes time to do that. Then she got the ransom notice. By that time, it had already hopped to the server, encrypting her server. Luckily, it hit a spare drive first and was halfway through the spare drive before they got it stopped. And you only have two choices at this point. Pay the ransom, which they were considering doing, or restore. They had to completely rebuild her machine.
Reformat the hard drive, do a factory reset.
And factory reset, and they had to, flip back to the backup the night before. But if it had gone into, it had been almost 24 hours since she had clicked on that thing.
Wow.
With a firm with how many people? It would have lost all their work from the night before. I mean, you think about, but when I realized that it had hopped to their server, that really terrified me.
Well,
and
don't they have protection on their server, or I mean, does it get beyond antivirus software, or I'm not sure how these things work.
Yeah. Virus software is not stopping this stuff.
Yeah.
So.
By the way, we have somebody watching live. Ida Rose Huddle.
In Sarah's window, I saw.
Huh?
Someone behind Sarah.
Yeah.
Oh.
What'd you see?
red pants.
Oh, the yard guy.
By the way, we had somebody commenting on our stream here on Google Plus saying, "I'm a new QuickBooks ProAdvisor starting my business. I appreciated your comments for new persons." So that's good.
Good. Be strong. Confident.
Yeah, don't take on those crappy clients, even if you think you need them.
80-20.
You know, the new scam now is that you'll get a call from somebody saying, "Hey, this is technical support, and there's a problem with your computer. I just need to remote in and get it fixed for you."
Mm-hmm. I love playing with them. I'll go, "Really? Oh no. Okay, what do I do?" And then they go through this whole thing, and so you play along for a while, and then I go, "How do you sleep at night? Hurting other human beings." And usually they hang up, but one guy, he went for the challenge. I talk about foul language, and I'm like, "You are pure evil, buddy."
That's funny.
Yeah, I like screwing with them. But do you think some poor elderly person or somebody who's not sophisticated enough, they'll start doing what
that's what they're really preying on. They're trying to get elderly people who are just going to get scared and not know any better. My father got a call like that, and but he was smart enough. He knows better. So he said to them, he said, I'm trying to remember what he said. I think he actually said, "You know what? Give me a number where I can call you right back." Right. And then they hung up.
Mm-hmm. It's scary. That's why this ransomware is so scary. I mean, if somebody, who's been around for a long time is clicking on, and you know what? I said, "Well, what should I look for?" This one was a link. It said you got a fax and click here, or I want you to see this copy of the fax, and it was a link to a Dropbox. And I said, "Okay, I should look for that." And he said, my husband said, "No, don't just look for that." He says sometimes they're coming in as, "Here's your registration number for your Microsoft. Here's your, I mean, they're all different.
My wife's computer got one where the message looked exactly like it was like a Microsoft logo antivirus program, and she was tricked into clicking on it. And the thing where they've gotten real clever is these things are no longer installing themselves as a program application. They're coming in as system files. So you can't just go into the control panel and remove it. I was able to fix it once by doing a system restore and getting back to a point before when she had clicked on it. And then in another case, I had to do the factory reset. Luckily, I've got all my stuff stored in the cloud, so I can do the factory reset without fear of losing any data. It's just time-consuming because now I've got to reinstall everything. But here's a tip for you on that. The next time you find yourself doing a factory reset, or for that matter, you get a new computer, the first thing you do is just install software. Don't download any documents or anything. And then there's what's called an ISO image program, where you can take an image basically of exactly the state of your computer at that point in time, so that next time you don't have to do a full factory reset. You just restore that ISO image, and it puts your computer back in that state with none of the documents. Then, of course, you would reinstall your Dropbox, your Evernote, your Google Drive, all that stuff to get your documents down. So that's the way you can save yourself a lot of time and headache by doing the ISO image. But the only way that works is, again, you have to, after you've gotten a new computer and done a factory reset, before making any changes to any documents, you have to just install every application that you want on your computer and sort of to have remembered there.
All right.
So if you Google ISO image software, you'll find all kinds of applications that'll do that for you.
Yeah, I tell everybody, no data on your workstation, none, programs only. And then the server is actually bolted. Because I'm afraid of like smash and run. I mean, Windows, it doesn't take anything for somebody to smash in, grab your computers, and they're long gone before the cops show up. But I want to make the server difficult. So there's a 6-inch bolt into the frame of the building, and then it's actually bolted. They're not snatching my server. It's going to take them a while. But that's my husband is like so security. Plus it's
the only thing you have to keep on your machine, of course, is the live QuickBooks file.
But not on the workstation.
Oh, you have it on a network. You have it on the server.
The server's bolted And then and it's up in carbonite, so if I lose the office completely, at least I have everything on carbonite. But and in case of hurricane, I grab the server, one workstation, a printer, and I'm gone.
Would you unbolt the server from the floor?
It's funny.
Yeah,
like
I've
most
done
people in
both.
case of hurricane would just be worried about like their own personal safety. Sarah's got it all planned out for how she can still conduct her business.
I know. That's why I want to get another dog, and I'm like, I can't get more dogs because I have to have room for all my office stuff, the personal stuff, the dog, and then still have, so anyway. Yeah, you have to have an emergency plan. At least hurricanes you get about a week notice.
Yikes.
Maybe 3-day notice, whereas a tornado or a flood or something, they'll sneak up on you. But
A little bit harder, yeah.
as much as I complain about the hurricanes, of all the catastrophes, we have a chance to run.
Yeah. And you could take photos and put it up on Instagram.
Well, in the old days when I was doing union payroll in 4 states, if I had to evacuate from Savannah, the port in Wilmington didn't care. They wanted their payroll.
Right.
I'm evacuating. It's like, where's our paychecks? They don't care. And that was before the cloud and everything. So.
That's funny. All right, well, it's about 9 o'clock, so I think that's a wrap. I'm watching the viewers drop off in number, so everybody's obviously going back to work.
Make some money.
We will see you at 2:30 this afternoon Pacific, 5:30 Eastern on Gina's Hangout. Hopefully, don't miss it. If you miss it, you'll be a loser and all your friends will hate you.
You can watch the recording.
Is there a topic today?
Oh, and even though Tina's gone, big congratulations goes out to Sammy. She graduated from nursery school this week.
Yeah.
Yes, so
cute.
All right, we'll see you all later on, we hope.
All right.
Bye-bye, y'all.
Take care. Bye-bye.